I've been working on cruise ships for the past 5 years, and this job has given me some of the absolute best times of my life. It's taken me all around the world. I've gotten to meet incredible people, all while singing and dancing every step of the way. But it's also had its tougher moments, feelings of stress, loneliness, and honestly just like pure chaos at times. And if I was considering working on a cruise ship today, these are the things I wish someone would have told me beforehand. And disclaimer, these are just my feelings based on my experiences as a dancer working on board. People might feel very differently, I don't know, but this is my channel. So, okay, the first thing that I wish someone would have told me is that you can't have all the things that you want in your cabin. There are a few things that I mean when I say this. First, obviously, you can't pack everything that you want because the space is so small. So you can't bring your whole wardrobe, you can't bring your cat, you can't bring your hundreds of Starbucks cups that you collect. There's just not enough space. But you also can't have things like candles, an iron, or a coffee machine. The coffee machine is the hardest one for me. I have seen people on my previous contracts have coffee machines, and I personally have just been too afraid to buy one and then get it taken away at security, so I haven't tried yet. I don't know if it's like on the bigger ships, they're less strict about it, but on my last ship, there was like this week where they were like, if you have a coffee machine, an iron, or any of the prohibited items that we don't allow, you need to bring them to housekeeping in the next few days, and if you don't, you will be thrown overboard. No, I'm just kidding. They didn't say that. Basically, they were like, you will get in a lot of trouble if you're caught with any of these things in your cabin. And so that kind of turned me off from ever trying to get a coffee machine on board, though I know people do it. So long story short, I miss coffee and candles. The second thing I wish I had known about working on cruise ships is just how mentally taxing it can be. You are eating, sleeping, working, everything all in one place, which makes it really hard to be able to take a break and step back from certain situations. Most people get to go to work and then leave at the end of the day. They get to come home and de-stress, but when you work on a cruise ship, your home is 5 minutes from where you work, and you probably have a roommate, so you're never really getting that chance to be alone and just have that time to yourself. And sometimes ships can feel like high school. There are like cliques within certain departments, and it can make you feel really isolated if you're not getting along with your coworkers or if you're feeling left out. For me, it kind of sometimes feels like I'm in a bubble, and that makes feelings even more heightened than they would be normally. Sometimes it would just be nice to talk to someone who is removed from the situation, but unfortunately on ships, we don't really have access to therapy. You're on a ship in the middle of the ocean. Obviously, you can't just physically go to a therapist. But the one thing that we do have is internet. And because of that, I am excited to announce today's sponsor, which is BetterHelp. BetterHelp makes starting therapy easier and much less intimidating, offering sessions at a time that's convenient for you. Sessions can be done via video chat, messaging, or phone call, which makes it really simple no matter where you are, what time it is, to connect with someone when you need it the most. BetterHelp can match you with one of over 30,000 therapists in their network based on your needs, preferences, and location, which gives you a wide range of expertise and the ability to find someone that you really connect with. And a great feature that they have is the ability to change therapists whenever you want. So if you're not vibing with your current therapist, you can change them up with one click, no questions asked. Join over 4 million people who have used BetterHelp to live a happier and healthier life. You can click the link down in the description or visit betterhelp.com/KristaJocelyn. Clicking the link will help support this channel, but it'll also give you guys 10% off of your first month of BetterHelp, so you can see if it's a good fit for you. Alrighty, moving on to number 3. The third thing that I wish someone would have told me before working on cruise ships is that FOMO is real. You're in this brand new environment where there are new people you're meeting every day. There's often crew parties every other day. You're in a new country. All of these things are just new and exciting. And it makes you want to do all the things, but trust me, you will burn out pretty fast. Again, you're in this bubble, so sometimes it feels like you shouldn't say no to these new, cool, fun opportunities. But if you're like me and you're a people pleaser, you know what this feels like. Some people are probably like, yeah, obviously I would say no if I didn't want to do it. But if you're like me and you have a hard time saying no, the FOMO is real. And also, it's okay not to get off the ship every single day. On my last contract, we were in the Mediterranean, and it felt like I was on vacation during the day. I was in these new places. I was experiencing all of these really cool things. And then I would get back on the ship, and then I would do 2 shows, and then I would just be exhausted, but then I would wake up early the next day because I was in another cool place that I wanted to see, and I would kind of force myself to get off, and it was amazing. It was, but it was also really exhausting. You have to find a balance of when to rest and when to kind of push and go do those fun experiences, but you are working at the end of the day. It's not a big vacation. Sometimes it feels like it, but it's not. You still have to work. And if you're gonna be, running on a hamster wheel all the time, you're eventually gonna get sick and you're not gonna be able to work or go off the ship and have those fun experiences. I hope that makes sense. Along with this, try to save your money. Definitely enjoy yourself, spend some of it. Obviously, you're in these cool places, but when you're smart about it, you can save a lot. And then when you get home, you'll definitely thank yourself. Number 4. That would be 8. Number 4. This one is really hard for me, but it's okay not to be friends with everybody. This kind of goes along with the last one because I am a people pleaser, but it is very hard for me when it feels like I am not friends with everybody who I'm around. But on land, you get to choose who your friends are. Maybe you go to work and there's some people that you're not really vibing with and you have to see them, pretty frequently, but you get to go home at the end of the day and choose the people that you want to spend the majority of your time with. But when you live and work on a cruise ship, the people that you work with are the people that you are friends with, and you only have, the ship people as options for friends. And sometimes you don't vibe with all of those people, which is completely normal. And for most people, they would be like, yeah, that's fine. But for me, it was really hard for me to kind of grasp that concept. It took me probably 2.5 contracts to just realize it's really okay to not be friends with everybody. Of course, be kind and respectful to everybody, but you don't have to be best friends. Okay, moving on to number 5. This is a big one. It can be hard to be healthy when working on board. The food options are not usually what I would choose for myself, and they repeat pretty frequently. You don't really know how much butter or salt or cream or, whatever it is in these dishes, and so you kind of just have to eat what's available. You're also traveling, and for me, one of my favorite pastimes is eating. I like to get off the ship, go and experience new foods in these places. Like I said, we were in the Mediterranean on my last contract. That was very hard for me. I loved getting off the ship and trying new dishes. I was eating all the pasta, the pizza, I was having the Aperol spritzes, I was enjoying myself, maybe a little bit too much at times, but it's a balance that you have to find because, of course, I think that you should experience these amazing foods in these places that you're going, but you have to remember that you aren't on vacation, and if you are eating like that consistently, it can lead to some pretty unhealthy habits. Maybe that's just me and I have poor control. Okay, number 6 is kind of a weird one, but it's to remember that this is still real life. If you've never done a ship before, this might kind of feel like a weird concept, but going back to my bubble analogy, we're in this bubble and sometimes home can just feel so far away that you can kind of create this new persona. These people that you're meeting, they don't know you. You can kind of be whoever you want to be, and the habits and the things that you do while on board, they do come back home with you. And that's in regards to everything, the way that you're eating, drinking, your mental health, your exercise routine. But sometimes it can feel like maybe you're at college and you have no inhibitions, you're just having a good time. You can be whoever you want to be, but the choices that you make do go home with you. Number 7 is gonna feel a little bit obvious, but it's to get fresh air. It is kind of insane to think that there were literally full days where I would go not seeing the sun. I didn't have a porthole in my room, and then all of the places I needed to be on the ship were indoors. The theater's inside, the mess. You could get anywhere I needed to go without going outside. And I remember on the crossing, I would see people and I'd be like, we haven't been outside for 3 days. I haven't seen the sun in 3 days, and that's really bad, especially for your mental health. So this is your reminder to go outside, see the sun, especially when you have a lot of sea days. It can just be really tough to get outside. Okay, moving along, number 8 is to research places before you go to them. Otherwise, you are going to spend your whole contract in the port, spending a ton of money on food and drinks and not really getting any great experiences out of this. Especially in places in the Med, you're probably really close to some famous landmarks, and if you don't do any sort of research, you're not gonna know that. If later on you realize, wow, I was 20 minutes away from the Leaning Tower of Pisa and I didn't go, you're gonna be like, well, that sucks. If you get off the ship and you're just wandering around and you're gonna aimlessly find stuff, you'll likely spend more money and not have as good of an experience. Not always, but sometimes. All right, moving on to number 9. This one is gonna sound crazy, but it's that you're not in control of your life. This is one of my least favorite parts about working on ships. It's something that when I weigh the pros and cons of if I wanna do another one, this is one of the really big cons. But since you live and work in the same place, it's really easy for management to decide, oh, we need another person, you need to come now. There have been so many times where I was like, oh, I have the whole afternoon off, great. And then I would get a text that would be like, in 30 minutes, meet in the theater, we have a rehearsal. And in real life, that's just not really possible. I might live 30 minutes away from my work, and if I'm not scheduled, you can't really just expect me to show up at your beck and call whenever you ask, but on ships, it is very much expected. And then not to mention that you are completely on the ship's schedule, so when you can get off the ship is dictated by the ship, when you have to get back on. And then there are even times when they decide, actually, you can't even get off at all today. That happened, I think, 2 or 3 times on my last contract. We were in New York once, and there was just something going on with immigration. They wouldn't let anybody off. And then we had some tendering issues in one of the ports, and we weren't allowed to get off that day either. And it's kind of crazy when you're like, oh, so now I'm just like a prisoner on this ship. Okay, I guess I'll just stay here. It's just like a really weird concept and something that you have to get used to and try to be okay with. Okay, and then the last thing that I wish I knew before working on cruise ships is that the adjustment period when you get back home can be kind of hard. The people in your life have still been living their lives, believe it or not, while you were gone. Things have probably changed. They have maybe gotten into new relationships, gotten engaged, had kids, who knows, they've moved. Maybe you've just drifted apart while being gone for such an extended period of time. And that can be really hard to see all of these things having happened while you were away. And then as a performer, we don't always know what our next assignment is gonna be before we leave our current one. Most other departments do know, or maybe they'll leave a contract and they'll know within a couple of weeks where they're gonna go next. But as a performer, it's just not really how it works. If there isn't a ship coming up that has the right shows for you, you're not the right look, you're not the right, I don't know, performer for those shows, you could potentially have to wait months until a ship comes around for you that you're a good fit for. Being a performer is not for everybody. It can be a lot after a while, living such a kind of like unsteady, unpredictable lifestyle. But for me, it's worked out so far, so hopefully it keeps working out. And those are my 10 things I wish I knew before working on cruise ship. If you guys haven't subscribed yet, please do. There's gonna be lots of updates coming up in the next couple of weeks with what's going on with me, if I'm doing another contract, all those things. So make sure you subscribe, follow along, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.